Hey everyone, my name is Sarthak. I'm a second year law student at the National Law School of India University and legal faculty at Clark Tutor. Today we'll be going over live streaming of court proceedings. And for that, we'll be looking into three very specific things. First, we'll look into the draft rules and how exactly they came about. We'll look at the history of of live streaming court proceedings in the form of the Supreme Court ruling of 2018, and we'll look at the salient issues around live journalism and live streaming of court proceedings and how the draft rules of 2021 address these issues. To that effect, let's just first look at the draft model rules for live streaming and recording of court proceedings as notified by the Supreme Court E-Committee, which is headed by Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, or we'll just call them draft rules, it's a mouthful. The rules are part of the National Policy and Action Plan. Now, the plan aims to integrate information and communication technology with the judiciary so that institutions have access to the best possible technology to make their rulings, their processes more accessible to people across the nation. To that effect, the rules will not only cover live streaming in the Supreme Court, but also the High Courts and eventually the lower courts and the tribunals as well. A subcommittee consisting of judges from the Bombay, Delhi, Madras and Karnataka High Courts have drafted these rules. And at the center of these rules are two very salient principles. The first of them is privacy, as you would expect in in-camera proceedings and sensitive issues. And the second of them is access to information, which is what really make these rules quite important. The live streaming of court proceedings will not only make these proceedings accessible to a lot of people, but they'll also be more educated, more informed about how a court functions and how exactly judges go about making their decisions. It introduces transparency to the judicial process as well as empowers the citizen. So the history of live streaming of court proceedings is quite important in this regard. The petition that was filed by senior advocate Ms. Indira Jaising is the significant sort of bulwark against which we should look at how these rules have developed. Now, the petition that Ms. Jaising filed was to ensure that there's an official audiovisual record of whatever happens in courts, and that there's wider access to such happenings in the court, such proceedings of the court, to people all across India. She also suggested that there's a lower chance of misreporting cases and proceedings if there is such a record for journalist sources to corroborate their stories against. A three-judge bench was constituted, comprising Chief Justice Deepak Mishra, Justice A.M. Khanvilkar and Justice D.Y. Chandrachud. To rule on this issue, they favored the plea. They assured that live streaming of court proceedings will be something that they'll look into. And over the past few years, this has been something that has been in the making. Justice Ramana also commented how this was something that the Supreme Court was actively looking at. At the time, Justice Chandrachud had quoted that sunlight is the best disinfectant. He said that the court proceedings will become more transparent and more accessible the more the court tries and goes ahead and brings them into the public eye, brings them into the public domain. To this effect, there's court reform that was welcomed by both the Union of India as well as the spokesperson of the Union of India, the Attorney General, Mr. K.K. Venugopal, at the Supreme Court. The contents of the draft rules will show how exactly this petition is relevant. Now we look at the contents in two different ways. First, we look at the logistical side of it, the logistical side of live streaming, as well as the more principal aspect of it all. On the logistics side, there will be cameras that will be positioned at 5 different angles to cover the bench, the lawyers on both sides, the accused as well as the witness, so that you have a comprehensive view of how proceedings are happening at the court. There is a proposed 10-minute delay in streaming such that anything that is being said and done will be broadcasted to the people after 10 minutes. Within those 10 minutes, there may be some information, some personal details that the court would like to be muted or removed, and such options may be available to the bench. The entire content of these recordings will be available for the public on the Supreme Court's website within 3 days of the proceedings concluding. The Supreme Court has also suggested that other authorized bodies may also carry these court proceedings, the videos thereof, and any sort of snippets thereto. Now, the suggestion that there are only authorized bodies that go ahead and carry these court proceedings is something that flows directly from the 2018 petition by Ms. Jaising, where she suggested that any rules that do come about in this regard should make sure that there is no commercial exploitation of something that is a public resource. The recordings and the proceedings that will happen will be in the public domain, and any sort of commercial exploitation thereof should be discouraged, because of which only authorized people, those authorized by the court, will go ahead and be able to share these proceedings for the benefit of the public. That being said, earlier as I mentioned, there will be a 10-minute delay. Now, the delay is important because there are several things that are discussed in court that are sensitive, that are private, that no one in that room would like going out for very genuine reasons. To that effect, there will be a remote control device that is proposed with the presiding judge on the bench, who may, whenever he or she may decide, can pause the live stream or stop it altogether, such that such private and sensitive information does not go out with the live stream. Now, what is the nature of such information that you need to sort of alter court proceedings, pause them or stop them altogether? There could be personal information such as the date of birth, the address of any of the parties, any of their bank details that may be relevant to the proceedings. These details may be deleted or muted. Secondly, any sort of information of people related to these parties, such as their close relatives, any witnesses or any other participants in the proceedings, these details may also be deleted or muted at the discretion of the bench. Now, there are matters of matrimonial disputes such as divorces, child custody, any sort of domestic violence issues. There may be sexual violence for which proceedings may happen in the court. There may be other form of gendered violence. Such proceedings might warrant some sort of exemption from the live streaming altogether. These are sensitive proceedings. The women that come forward with these claims want to protect their modesty, want to protect their dignity in these proceedings, and therefore it may be relevant for them that these proceedings, as and when they happen in the court, are not live streamed to the people. Similarly, there may be cases under the POCSO, which is the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, and the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act. Both of these acts very specifically mention that any cases that come under these acts, they will be decided in camera proceedings. In camera proceedings are private proceedings where people who are not related to the case, any sort of external correspondence, any sort of external observers are not allowed to witness court proceedings in these matters. Similarly, in-camera proceedings are also contemplated under the Code of Criminal Procedure, and any proceedings that warrants a sort of in-camera procedure, these proceedings will not be live streamed. Similarly, the bench may exempt several other cases from live streaming as well. Now, the interest that the bench keeps in mind is that the objective of the court is justice and complete justice. Any sort of administration of justice that may be interrupted by the live streaming of proceedings would warrant that this live streaming be halted. What I mean to say is, let's say there's a communally sensitive matter and the court is in its deliberations decides that if this matter is live streamed, there may be some sort of unrest, there may be some sort of disharmony between communities, because of which the court decides that it is in the interest of justice and the administration of justice that these proceedings are not live streamed before the people till the judgment comes out. Now, you will understand now why there is a balancing between access to information as well as confidentiality and privacy on both sides. There is access to information that the rules facilitate. However, there's also confidentiality which becomes an interest in some sensitive cases. There's also aspects of privacy that become very important in some cases. Both of these are balanced by the rules. Now, the court has invited suggestions and feedback on the draft rules, the deadline for which is the 30th of June 2021. The rules may help solve some of the misreporting of cases that happens when there's live tweeting and live reporting of cases from the court. A lot of journalism platforms may report some snippets of conversation that happens in courts, however, without capturing the entire context. It may mean that whoever that snippet or quote is attributed to may receive some flack from the public or from online discourse, as has happened several times in the past. With that, we come to the end of this video. And in case you have any doubts, you can mail us at hello@clarktutor.com. And any feedback that you may have, please mention in the comment section below. Thank you.